Hey, today everybody, we are going to be breaking down clinically the movie Inside Out, the new Pixar movie that came out a few weeks ago. I thought it was a perfect example of understanding what memories are, what emotions are. Got my clipboard out today, got my board, little eraser, so I can go some things out here, and got my articles. Here we go. Boom. Okay, the movie is set in the mind of a young girl named Riley who's 11 years old and moves from Minnesota to California, the city of San Francisco, where she's dealing with a lot of transitions from leaving her family and friends behind. Well, her family comes with her, but leaving her friends behind, her lifestyle behind, to a city that is to her very unfamiliar and scary. What the movie does well is it gives you 5 categories of emotions, and you can actually see them here. They are joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. And what the movie does very, very well is showing how all of these things interact to create for us emotions and our consciousness and how we look at ourselves and how we grow older, because really, in a sense, when you leave middle school, and you go into teenage years, your innocence kind of comes to an end. And what you remembered as a child, your fantasies, your thoughts, you start dealing with reality. So what I wanted to say is this. In regards, looking at it differently from a clinical perspective, I have a different take on it than most people obviously watching the movie or in general. And also I work at a lot of families, most of them dysfunctional, having multiple problems. Here's what I want to look at this. It's so important to me, what struck me in the movie was, do you use humor in dealing with your kids? I have kids and they drive me nuts. And sometimes I want to keep my hands from choking them, or they drive me crazy when they do something very, very stupid, which is often sometimes a lot of times. So you have to use humor to deflect and reflect and keep yourself from blowing it. And you got to use humor. And sometimes so many families that I work with, there's no sense of humor. There's no sense of laughing something off. It's like deathly serious. And unfortunately, that's what the kids become. The situation with my son today, man, I was furious. Not actually at him, but well, who should I say it? Let me see. It rhymes with life. Rhymes with rife. Oh, that'd be my wife. Yeah. And she drove me nuts today with something, and I'm in the car with my kid, and I'm thinking like, the tail's actually shaking because I'm actually getting so angry. And my point is, I couldn't get angry in front of my kid. I had to use humor, and I had to laugh it off. So I fortunately had enough common sense to calm down, stay relaxed, get him home, calm down, so I could actually come here and do the video. So you learn, you got to use humor. You don't want your kids to grow up angry, anger, and a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, because there's different kinds of sadness I want to kind of share with people to understand this as well. Okay, family lifestyles are going to be up and down, up and down. The problem with the kids that I work with is it's always down. It's never going up. So there's never a feeling of, I'm going to feel stronger. I could look forward to life getting better. It's always grim. It's always nasty. It's always unhappy. And when you think like that, you never can strive. Why do so many people who are in poverty stay on Section 8, stay on SSI, stay on EBT cards, stay with abusive boyfriends? Because they don't see any other alternative. They don't see any other outlet to something better in life. When you don't have anything to look forward to, when there is no joy, and all you have is sadness, fear, disgust, and anger, you can't grow. Riley had the joy. If you notice, the joy was played by the comedian Amy Poehler, who is a very strong, happy-go-lucky presence. And you need that joy to get you through the other 4 emotions that are very, very, very unpleasant. Now, kids look to you for how you act and stay cool. You're the captain. And I was thinking about that with my son today in the car. I wanted to go psycho and do my usual F-bombs and cursing and screaming, but I can't. I have to show him how to act, because one day he will have a family of his own, children of his own, and he's going to think, do I act like a lunatic like my father did, or do I show restraint and calmness? Now, I didn't learn this from my old man, because his response would have been to punch me in the face, curse me out, and beat me. So that was not exactly the way I wanted to learn from. But I'm trying to be a better person than what I've seen growing up. Now, talking about core memories, I'm going to get into this with some articles as well. Core memories are what you have as your, to me, looking at it from a clinical perspective, your core is like your foundation. So if you have positiveness in your life, That's what's going to carry you as you get older and you leave adolescence, you become a middle school teenager type person, and even when you become a young adult and adult, you have the power to reflect back and say, what are my core, and where do I go from? I'm going to quote Vin Scully, who's an announcer for the Dodgers for like the last 400 years, and great announcer, but he talks often about life issues that he's experienced in his 90 plus years. I think it's about 90. But he made a comment, he talked about his father taking him fly fishing as a little guy and how excited he was because the father said, okay, we're taking our rod and reel, we're gonna go camping, we're gonna have fun. It was father-son time. He looked forward to it. He enjoyed it. And he looks back on those memories as very, very positive, very, very happy, and he enjoyed himself tremendously. And that contributed to Vin Scully, I believe, being so good at what he does because the core is stable. Anyone I've worked with, if they have a dysfunctional childhood, I could see that the core memories are dysfunctional and fragile and fractured, and the foundation is not strong. One of the things I want to bring out over and over again in these videos that we're doing is childhood is so critically important. And even though your kids can make you crazy, that's why you're the parent and you have to be stable. And so many kids that I've worked with don't have that. And that's why they're freaking nuts and that's why they fail all the time. Now, again, be adaptable, change, good and bad. I mean, this week alone for me was crazy with what I dealt with. Up and down, phone calls and texts. And, respond to this. This one's unhappy. Sometimes you want to shake yourself and try and hold on to yourself. I'm actually grabbing my shirt as a visual. But because you're trying to get grounded and it's so frustrating. But you have to be adaptable, and I use humor over and over and over again. And it's amazing to me how many times using humor has helped me walk away from a tight situation. Now, as we get older and these memories, you're going to change. Am I the same person I was when I was 30, when I was 40, when I was 50? No. But are you changing in the right way or are you changing in the negative way? Why am I doing these videos? Because I want to change how I process information, giving it to people. So I'm exactly what I'm trying to preach. Change your situation by going ahead and doing something with it. So, core memories, good and bad. Now, there's always a hidden meaning in a conversation. What is really going on? There's a scene in the movie where she gets so cuckoo that she runs up to a room and lays down on her bed and wishes she was back in Minnesota playing hockey with her friends. And the dad was at the table going like this, like he's stunned. Like, what happened to my little precious baby? All of a sudden, she's like a raving lunatic monster. What's going on? So there's always actions do not happen randomly. And I want to clarify this. From doing hundreds of assessments and doing thousands of people for counseling, when you act a certain way, when you lose it, why did you lose it? What caused you to lose it? What made the kid frustrated? And often you get an answer that you weren't prepared for. But no one does things randomly. True psychosis, for those, again, watching this, true psychosis is doing random acts for no reason. We're doing stupid acts for no reason. We're self-destructive acts for no reason. If you're truly schizophrenic, if you're truly psychotic, you do things that don't make any sense. And they're not going to because you're not mentally stable. You don't shower. You wear 4 pairs of underwear. You act crazy in the street. You don't have a place to live because you're not mentally stable. But when someone is stable and acts a certain way, acts out, why? And as a parent, you got to try and work on that and figure that out. So don't be afraid to apologize and say, I don't know why you're so, angry. I don't know why you're so upset. Hey, I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to apologize. Today with my son in the car, I must have said like 5 times, I'm sorry, I'm not angry at you, not angry at you, not angry at you, not angry at you. Now my father's response would have been to take my head and slam it against the car window. He would have been angry over the situation and taken it out on me. I don't want to do that. So I apologize repeatedly over and over again. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Now, we go through life losing and making friends. Adaptability is saying, if I leave one situation, let me find another situation. And it's something to work on with your kids, is don't be afraid to say to them, hey, if you played ice hockey in Minnesota, you could find a rink or a league here in San Francisco. In other words, you can make it work. Baseball is baseball. Basketball is basketball. Art, any activity that you do in one area of the country, generally you can do in another area of the country. It's not a problem. Learn the expression adaptability. Okay? Now, you see in the movie also this expression of abstract thought. What is abstract thought really? It's allowing your mind to think differently in a positive way. Many things in life come from one day people saying to you something that you're driving home, you're like, well, I never thought of it that way before. I'm going to do it this way now. That's the abstraction. You only can do that, though, when your mind is at rest. When you're dealing with constant issues of sad, fear, disgust, anger, and there's no joy, and there's no percentage, the abstract thought can't grow, and you don't have the ability to become successful. Any successful person will tell you a lot of times that what made them successful, whether it's in sports, business, pop, whatever it is, they had the chance to breathe, to go forward in the right way, to become positive. That's what abstract thought is. But when your abstract thought is filled with, am I going to get punched in the mouth tonight? How many times will my mom's head bounce off the walls tonight? Gee, I hope the soup kitchen has room for one more. Your abstract thought vanishes because all you're focused on is immediacy and you can't grow. And many times in counseling with kids, it's like, they're like, ooh, they're all cuckoo, they're running around the room, they're all crazy because they don't know how to sit still because they don't know how to be comfortable. They don't know how to relax. So many times I'm doing an assessment, screaming around the room, running around the room, bouncing off the walls. I know why. They're cuckoo because the environment is cuckoo. Just because I have them in an office where there's no stimulus, you still can't. It's like you're having that humming in your ear. That's still a reverberation of the cuckoo from the street is coming into the office. Problem. They're not relaxed. Okay. Now, subconscious is often our fears. Many times I work with people, what really comes out of them is that subconsciousness. It's like, I'm fearful, I'm fearful, I'm fearful. I know why you're fearful. You're fearful because you don't have the ability to surpass your subconscious. Psychologist Albert Ellis, I think he was either a social worker or a psychologist. His name was Albert Ellis. He would say, do something that you're going to fail at in front of people and realize life goes on. You're not wounded, you're not dead, and you can move on. And that's what I tell people all the time is take chances, take chances, take chances. But when you're so fearful of life and you're so afraid, it's hard to move forward. Often we get this comment a lot of times at work. Why don't they try? They're lazy, they're stupid. No one wants to be on Section 8 their whole life. No one wants to be a loser their whole life. No one wants to date guys who punch them in the face all the time and steal all their money. But you're afraid to take a chance because literally they got your neck by the throat. And you can't do it. You're afraid. It's scary. I understand. I get it. Okay? And it's okay to be honest. A lot of times we're afraid, a lot of times in counseling, you get this issue of, do I say how I really feel to a patient? I'm like brutally honest because I've learned the more honest I am, the more they appreciate it. And people are always like, oh my God, how do you talk to people that are not white, minorities, white, black, brown, yellow, they're from Mars? I've learned the more honest I am in the session and the assessment, boom, 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 the quicker the clarity comes. Because someone's telling them it's real. This is real life. I see it. It's repulsive. It's stupid. It's disgusting. Here's what I see you need to do. So there's clarity. There's light when there was once darkness. Okay, now I want to go to a couple of articles I pulled out about this movie I thought were kind of interesting. First of all, real quick, just to show how much depression affects the whole world, if you can see in the corner here, 350 million people suffer from depression worldwide. That number is probably underreported. 350. In other words, that would mean statistically everyone in the United States suffers from depression because we have about 350 million people living in America. That number is way higher. The number one reason why people go to doctors, by the way, the number one reason worldwide, depression-related symptoms. So it's more than 350. But 350 million people suffer from depression, this one article, lifelong. It's a lifelong issue. So this writer from an article in Business Insider, she said, I was one of those people that suffered from depression. And she said, I realized something. She was on medication. And the doctor said to her, I can hide you from dealing with reality. And that's all the pills are going to do. They're not going to let you feel. They're not going to let you deal with life around you. So she realized this. I'm going to read the comment. It was just providing me with a cast I could plaster over any overwhelming emotion. But here's the problem. You live like this. You're in a cocoon. So as she said, I was never super happy, but I was never super sad. You become vanilla. You don't grow. And you need those emotions, because without those emotions, you don't go forward. So here's some reality. If you're not super happy, and if you're not super sad, then you don't feel very much. And life becomes blah, becomes vanilla yogurt. You don't grow. Oh, vanilla, that's actually a flavor. It becomes plain yogurt, white yogurt, boring. Boring, boring. So in the movie, sadness helps Riley understand why she's sad, but sadness doesn't last forever, because the goal is in a normal world, sadness will turn to joy. Sadness will turn to other issues. So you need to be sad because you need to learn how to go from emotion to emotion in a conductive, productive way. So you understand when you realize that sadness doesn't last forever, to quote the article, it's easier to appreciate being happy. Sad is normal, it's healthy, and it's human. Here's another thing also. A lot of times in counseling, we get these issues of people saying, oh, you're sad. You shouldn't be sad. Don't be sad. Don't be sad. I'm like, why not? Of course you should be sad. Living the way you live, the lifestyle that you have, I totally get it. Who wouldn't be sad? It's miserable how you live. Acknowledging the sadness, acknowledging the person's feelings is so important. I understand why you're sad, and I'm sorry. I'm making a soothing motion with my hand. Now, our identities, who we are, is defined by emotions. How we perceive the world, how we express ourselves, and the responsibility we evoke in others. This is the science of Inside Out from the New York Times. And for kids, what unfortunately happens for us is that preteen years should lead, there's a loss of childhood, there's a loss of innocence. But going into your teenage years and your young adulthood years should be fun, should be exciting. For many of the kids that I work with, though, they don't have it because they're stuck with anger, disgust, fear, and overwhelming sadness. They can't get past these. So here's the thing also. In real life, when you're sad, when you openly admit that you're having emotional issues, people come to help you. They support you. They're there for you. A couple of things also. Emotions organize rather than disrupt rational thinking. The thinking was that, if you have emotions, it's enemies of being rational. That's not true. But emotions guide our perceptions in the world and even our moral judgments of right and wrong. And that's why when we're angry, here's another thing also. Anger is a good thing to have, because when you're angry, that's when you see change. That's when you see people stand up and say, you know what, I'm angry over conditions in America, over conditions in the world, and I want to change, I want to grow. So anger is a good emotion as well when you need it at the right time and the right place. Okay, so I want people to understand this also. All of these things that we have here, you need all of them. It's like a tool. It's like a tool belt. You need joy. You need the sadness and the fear, disgust, and the anger, but you need them at the right times in the right place so you could continue to grow. You can continue to move on. I'm angry at my lifestyle. I want to change. I'm disgusted who I'm living with. I'm fearful this is going to be my whole life. I'm sad how my kids are living. I want to move on to a feeling of joy, but I need all these emotions to do it. And a lot of times in medication, they block everything out so you don't go anywhere. And all you become is this. All you are is this. And you don't have a chance to move forward. And when I get nervous with a lot of kids who are on heavy medications is, if you don't feel, you can't grow. You can't grow as a person. And that's crazy to me. If you can't express those emotions that you need, then how are you going to move forward? Okay, now, also, sadness promotes people to unite in response to loss. Now, hopefully, if something happens, like you lose a close friend or suicide, death, people are going to unite with you. Unfortunately, in the world I come from, is sadness is, oh, you lost somebody, screw you, could care less. People don't have that support system, and that's unfortunate. Way too many people are alone. But as far as sadness, embrace it because it's part of life. It's part of helping you to grow and to be the person that, realistically you want to be. Okay, let me just clarify something also. This is called the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the coconut right here. That's what's called the executive functioning, where we deliberate, plan, reflect, and understand. This is coming from the Washington Post about the article about the movie Inside Out. When you're 11 years old, like in the movie, until you're in your teens, it's not fixed yet. They're still doing the internal wiring. So when your kids act like an idiot and do stupid things, why? Because it doesn't happen until the late 20s. So executive functioning, the prefrontal cortex, which is right here, which tells us again about deliberate, plan, reflect, and understand, is we don't get it till we're in our 20s. So you have to be patient with your kids when they do stupidity, which is often on an ongoing basis. And too often now with childhood, we take that away from kids by saying, oh, they can't be who they are. Let kids be who they are and work with them as your parent. Okay, memories are very, very important. And also another thing also, our personality does not reside in any one place, rather distributed throughout the cortex and contribute. And that's my point again. Memories are all around us, good and bad, good and bad. And I want to close with this. In my world that I work with, sadness is forever. As the kids I work with live with disgust and anger. They can't get past it. Life is always red. It's always hot. In Riley's world, in the end, it turns to joy. Well, the movie has to end on a happy note, of course. But kids that suffer from anxiety, fear, and depression, they don't have a happy island like Riley did, like a place to go to, a best friend, an imaginary friend to retreat to. Remember, it all stems from childhood. Her best friend in childhood, that imaginary friend, was happy. The kids that I work with, their imaginary friends are guys crawling into their bed, being fondled, being molested, being touched, being offered drugs and alcohol, seeing domestic violence. They can't grow. They can't grow. So I wanted to share that when you enter puberty as a young child, this all enters the reality. Memories that are negative stay with you. Memories that are unpleasant will fade and go away that you don't use, but the memories of unhappiness will stay forever. So it's very, very important to, again, focus on how you relate to your kids, understand them better, let them have these emotions. It's normal, but let them all bing, 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 bing like a pinball machine and work together. And that's how you create a happy, healthy, emotionally secure child. We're out. We'll see you next time. Bye.